Here's our timeline on this Wednesday afternoon. Our Josina Anderson reporting former Broncos coach Vance Joseph will interview with the Bengals this week. And ESPN, as well as other outlets, reporting that Chiefs offensive coordinator Eric Bieniemy is interviewing with the Jets and also the Bucs as early as today. Glad to have you with us for NFL Live. I'm Wendy Nix, Josina Anderson, Coach John Fox, and Teddy Bruschi. We've got plenty of coaching news, some playoff games to break down, of course, as we look ahead to Wild Card Weekend. But we start with one of the guys we needed to hear from regarding the saga and Antonio Brown. The fallout from the knee injury that was or wasn't continues amid reports that Antonio Brown was benched for the Steelers season finale against the Bengals on Sunday. Ben Roethlisberger said yesterday he wasn't aware of any practice blow-up, and today Mike Tomlin picked up the story of what happened after he sent Brown home on Friday.
After Friday's business was done, it became difficult to communicate and catch up with him. I wasn't able to communicate with him on Friday evening or Saturday morning. So when we had our Saturday morning mock game or walkthrough and he was unavailable and we hadn't communicated with him, then it became something altogether different. I woke up Sunday morning, got a call from his agent, Drew Rosenhaus. Drew expressed that he was feeling better and that he would potentially be able to participate. I outlined to Drew that decisions weren't made like that, but I would be interested in visiting with him in person at the stadium prior to the game, but playing wasn't on the menu. Obviously, we take his lack of communication, his lack of presence, particularly on Saturday prior to the game, to be something that's very significant and will be handled appropriately so. I'm not going to speculate on trades and things of that nature. We haven't formally received a request in that regard. So I'm not going to speculate. I'm not going to speculate in terms of where the discipline might go and things of that nature. Just know that it's going to be addressed, and it will be addressed and needs to be addressed for obvious reasons. When we're talking about our darkest hour, okay, we're talking about playing to win a game and needing other dominoes to fall for us to be in the tournament, and the guy not communicating, that is a real element of discussion, certainly.
From a financial perspective, Brown carries $21.1 million in potential dead money next season. If he were to be cut or traded, the only wideouts with more would be OBJ and Sammy Watkins. They could cut or trade Brown with a post-June 1st designation, and his cap hit would drop to $7 million, but that needs to be done by the 5th day of the 2019 league year. Not the position anybody really wants to be in, Coach, but a lot of layers here. Let's just start with the first one, which is, what did you think of what Mike Tomlin had to say?
Well, first of all, I hope Mike Tomlin has a great vacation plan.
He needs a break, this man. He needs a break.
This has been a long season. And so that's the first thing I'm hoping Mike Tomlin gets to do. But, you know, Mike didn't have any choice, and he's right. And that locker room should be upset. I know the coaching staff would be upset. I mean, when you go flashback to last week, you're going in to play a division opponent, you know, for all the marbles, for the opportunity to make a really up and down season, long, hard season, come to fruition. And that is to get into the tournament, and all of a sudden you don't have arguably your best player on your football team for whatever reason, for however it works.
The darkest hour, Coach. Our darkest hour.
Yes, I mean, that's you know, it's like, hey, dude. So I can understand people being upset. I'd be upset too, and where it goes, who knows?
I mean, according to Mike Tomlin, he let the team down. He let the team down by not communicating about his injury, probably not following protocol in terms of how they handle things within the Pittsburgh Steelers organization. Is there an injury? There are certain steps you have to take we want to make sure that you're able to get back on the field. No communication. Mike Tomlin says enough's enough. You know, you're not going to play. And for you to try to get your agent to call and say you're ready to go now, it's just not the way things are done in terms of coming back from any type of ailment or any bump or bruise or anything like that. There are trainers, there's protocol, there's a Steeler way, and it wasn't followed.
We're going to come back to that in just a minute, but Josina, I'll ask you this, first of all, what your sources are saying in Pittsburgh, but while I ask you that, we'll also show you that Antonio Brown isn't quiet necessarily. He tweeted during Mike Tomlin's press conference. You can read it in entirety, but basically we'll go with the Happy New Year. Be great. How about that? We'll just leave it at that. But he was clearly aware that his head coach was speaking about this. What are you hearing?
Well, the first thing, let me just address that statement that was just up. The one thing that is missing from that statement is an apology and I'm sorry. So that's the one thing that stands out to me from that, particularly when you have Cam Haywood making a statement and saying very, very unequivocally that this was unacceptable, you know, not participating, leaving at halftime, all of those things are being made clear. However, what I do want to point out is that, you know, just talking to my sources, someone who's familiar with the thinking up top of the organization, they are saying, you know, is this an unfortunate situation? Yes. Does it look good? No. But they also tried to keep it measured, just like you heard Mike Tomlin and his tone in the press conference by saying it's not, quote, of extreme concern. One, they put into perspective on it is saying that this is not happening while the Pittsburgh Steelers are still in the postseason. This would be even so much more magnified if they were playing. And the truth of the matter is they do have time to further assess the situation with Antonio Brown. You heard Mike Tomlin allude to the fact that he is going to talk to them. He said during the press conference that they are going to gather more facts and make sure that they understand. But at the same time, they also know the difference between LeGarrette Blount and the team letting LeGarrette Blount go immediately after he walked out Monday Night Football 2014 and releasing him the next day on Tuesday is that they have way more of an investment in Antonio Brown. This is a guy that's been setting records in receiving yards and touchdowns since he came into the league in 2011. So what I'm saying, Coach, what I'm saying, Teddy, is Antonio Brown doesn't grow on a tree. And so that's why you also hear Mike Tomlin being measured with his word choice. And when he's saying that he couldn't get in touch with him on Saturday, couldn't get in touch with him on Friday, and saying that there's an element of disappointment. Disappointment is a euphemism because he knows that Antonio Brown's listening and they do have to be measured with what they're going to do.
And then knowing all that, I'm still going to sit you for the most important game of the year that we needed, our darkest hour. Then you're letting us down. We still don't need you, and we're still going to win the game.
Well,
and they did.
And they did. Yeah. Well, you know what? Le'Veon Bell, so 2018 for Jeremy Fowler, okay? I mean, come on. 2019? Don't worry. We've got AB. Hello, Jeremy. Listen, welcome back. Happy New Year once again, and you were there for Mike Tomlin's press conference today. Where do you think this goes from here?
Well, Wendy, you got to love Pittsburgh. It is never a dull moment here. We're starting the year off with just more drama, and drama right now, apparently, with Antonio Brown doing an Instagram live post here soon with James Harrison. But, Wendy, I was in that room asking questions, and there was quite the tone set. You had about 60 people in there. Questions firing left and right. It was different than most weeks. And, you know, Tomlin tried to set a tone the best he could. He was measured, as Josina said, certainly, but he sounds like a guy who's fed up with a lot of things, especially the way they ended. And these kind of quotes struck out to me when he was asked specifically about Brown, whether at some point the negatives outweigh the positives. He said, certainly, alluding to that darkest hour that Brown left them in. And I asked him, did Brown quit on this team? He said, you can call it what you want to call it. And so Tomlin is a coach right now who's really keeping nothing on the table. He's embracing all potential changes, whether that's with the trade of an all-pro or not. He said we simply have to wallow in the issue that we've faced ourselves in.
Wow, and I'm afraid he's right. He was also the coach that said prior to that game, you know, we made our bed, we'll lie in it, and they have, and they will continue to do so.
That bed is still messy.
And it is still not extremely comfortable. Teddy, but as a player, when's enough in a locker room?
Well, the first thing I want to see is my head coach being proactive. I mean, doing what he can to make sure this doesn't happen again.
Did you see that?
What else could he have done?
Yep.
What else could he have done in terms of discipline, in terms of trying to take control of his locker room by basically taking his best player and saying, we don't do this here, man, and we don't need you. So sit him down when apparently, according to Drew Rosenhaus, he was healthy and he was ready to go, but still, we won't address this Monday after we potentially win and the Browns beat the Ravens. No, right now, that's it, man. You got to go because Friday, Saturday, what you did and not communication, that's all I can ask for from my head coach, because now it goes back on to Antonio Brown, to where the players now say, man, what are you doing? What are you doing? Because you're getting to the point where a coach is now suspending you for games. We need you out here to win football games because you're our best offensive player. You know, help us win football games. So I only can ask my head coach to do everything he possibly can, and Mike Tomlin did in this situation.
And you're always building that culture of accountability and dependability. And even your star players. I mean, in fact, on really good championship football teams, your star players are those guys. And they're carrying that hammer where it doesn't get to this.
Well, yeah, I would argue especially your star players.
Yes.
And I go to Go to his tweet with the picture of course, of him talking about free will and all of that stuff. And all of it's, it's true. And he has all of that because, you're an American citizen. Congratulations and all that. Good job.
Good job.
It's an NFL team. There are different rules within an NFL team where you have to hold each other, accountable. I mean, this type of stuff. I mean, yes,
So this wasn't a patriotic statement.
You're divinely blessed with free will, yes, but you're giving up so much of yourself when you're a part of a team to be there and to be there for a bunch of other guys that are there to help you win football games. That's what being a part of a team is all about. You're no longer an individual. You're a part of a group, and I don't think Antonio understands this. Where he's about to do an Instagram live interview with James Harrison, which don't do it.
Yeah,
don't do it. I'll tell you right now, if you're
what
watching
Teddy's alluding to is that Antonio Brown also tweeted today that he would do a live interview on Instagram with James Harrison, who's not exactly thrilled with the Steelers. We should also point out there's some context there. That has not happened yet to our knowledge, but that's, listen, what could go wrong?
But, I just wanted to say, I think that what the players in the locker room, or at least Cam Hayward as a voice of that locker room, is saying that they're looking for something a little bit more punitive in terms of the type of discipline that Antonio Brown receives, because it is not just what happened this weekend. What you seem to be hearing is, frustration from an aggregate of things that have happened over a period of time in terms of feeling like it has gotten out of, control to the point where a player would be leaving at halftime of a do-or-die game.
Listen, he's been productive on the field. We cannot argue that. Ben Roethlisberger and Brown have connected for 74 touchdowns since they've become teammates in 2010, the second most by any quarterback-receiver combo during that time. But it has come with a lot of other issues to be continued, and we'll keep you updated as we know more. We'll stay in Pennsylvania, but now we will talk about games this weekend, shall we? And we'll start with the defending champs. Despite leaving last Sunday's regular season finale with a chest injury, Nick Foles will start this weekend's wildcard game against the Bears. Foles and his head coach Doug Peterson addressed the media today.
This is a different season now. You're in the postseason, so, obviously expectations increase, sense of urgency increases, speed of the game gets faster. I think we benefit from last year, having been in the postseason, a lot of our guys on this team, and we've had even the new additions to our team have been in the postseason before. So I think we can lean on those experiences.
This last stretch, there wasn't, a high % chances of us even being in this situation we're in now. I think that experience helps us, but, the momentum part is simply confidence in one another. And with that confidence, that belief in one another, you can go out there and do great things. So we've been able to do that the last several weeks. Those weeks don't mean anything right now because we're in a new week. So we just have to continue to believe that way, continue to prepare that way. And I'm going to sound like a broken record, but that's simple. I mean, I can say all these different things, but it doesn't mean anything. The second I hit the field, that's what matters.
Philly has gone 4-1 this season with Nick Foles as its starting quarterback. The biggest difference from Carson Wentz has been their ability to finish drives. The Eagles have been far more efficient once they get to the red zone with Foles and have scored a touchdown on 89% of their goal-to-go drives, which would have led the NFL in the regular season. And for more on the Eagles, we will say hello to Diana Rossini, who is in Philadelphia. And Diana, are there any issues at all with the injury from last weekend with Nick Foles?
Hey, Wendy. So Nick Foles says right now he's feeling a little bit sore, but he's drastically improving every single day. As for his plans this Sunday against the Bears, he says he's going to add a little bit of padding inside his shoulder pads for that protection, but he doesn't want to put too much in there because he wants to be able to move around against this very dangerous Bears defense. And when we asked him specifically about Chicago and what he expects to see, it's actually the first time I've heard a quarterback not mention Khalil Mack. Take a listen to what he's concerned about.
The thing that I'm really impressed with is their secondary and the vision they can have with route recognition and eyes on the quarterback. And they're going to, try to confuse my eyes. They're going to try to confuse us with different looks. And sometimes defenses do that and they're not good at it and they get gashed. The thing I see with them is they're very good at it.
All right, the truth is he did bring up Mack and Hakeem Hicks later on in the press conference talking about he knows how dangerous that they are and why the Chicago Bears defense has been as good as they've been the last few weeks. But the other theme of the press conference wasn't about this Eagles team. It was about specifically Nick Foles. He is well aware that this could be his last week wearing an Eagles jersey. And once again, in traditional Nick Foles style, he just said he's been appreciative and he's confident that this won't be the last week he'll be wearing that jersey, meaning that they'll probably win and advance. Wendy?
This man is cool under pressure, on the field or off. Diana, thank you. Still to come on NFL Live, Wildcard Weekend is just about here. The Colts and Texans facing off for a third time this season. We'll take a look back at Luck and Watson throughout the first two matchups. And coming up, Eric Weddle joins the show. The Pro Bowl safety sits down with us to talk about the Ravens rematch with the Chargers.
Turn for
1-1 against each other this season. That was Andrew Luck, 39 touchdowns this season, the most by a player who missed the previous seasons. As for his upcoming opponent, Luck had 863 passing yards against the Texans this season, the third most passing yards by any player against a single team in a season, only behind the likes of Joe Montana and Dan Marino. But according to Andrew Luck, there is still work to be done as he gets set to face the Texans for a third time this season.
I think a small part of us understands how special it's been so far. And I said this afterward, fulfilling. I feel this season in a sense that every game has been fulfilling, but satisfied? No, not at all. I mean, we know there is work to do, and we know that it starts with today. It starts with getting better today.
Everybody will do their Andrew Luck impression at the end of the show, I promise. As for Deshaun Watson, 4,165 passing yards, 551 rushing, only the third player in history to have 4,000 plus passing yards and 500 rushing yards in a season. Cam Newton has done it. So too has Russell Wilson. Now everybody was open for Watson when the Texans faced the Colts this season. In fact, according to NFL Next Gen stats, 60% of Watson's pass attempts were thrown to open receivers. That's pretty good. It makes sense since the Colts allowed a league high 58% of passes to open receivers. Watson, however, not taking anything for granted.
At the end of the day, it's, Coach always told me it's just football. I mean, it's real stuff that's going on outside of, that football field. But at the end of the day, I mean, it's just football. It's what you've been doing your whole life. So, just take it one play at a time. Don't make it bigger than what it is, and don't make it less than what it is. Kind of keep that balance, keep it neutral, keep it in the middle.
Stay in your lane. Here's Bill O'Brien comparing the two quarterbacks.
I think it has a lot to do with who they are in combination with the talent that they have, their will to win. I think there's a lot to be said for that, and those guys have all that. What I see on tape, I don't see any differences. I think that relative to when he was playing before, when we played him here, played him in Indy, very difficult guy to go against. Arm strength, competitiveness. I see the same guy. In fact, in some of the things that he's doing, he's probably even better.
A strong year for his own quarterback as well, Watson, but he has taken more than his fair share of licks. He's been pressured on a league high 41% of the time, basically 2 in every 5 dropbacks. Watson's been sacked 62 times and contacted while running or throwing on 165 plays, both the most of any quarterback. And I think, Teddy, for a lot of folks, maybe you among them, that those big hits are a concern going into the weekend.
Yeah, those are a concern going into the weekend. When you're in a meeting room and with coaches, Coach, how many years have you been in the league?
28.
28
years.
If there's a physical,
Give or take.
there's a physical error where you get your butt kicked, sometimes it's excusable because the guy's just better than you. But these mental errors that you make, that's what drives coaches crazy. That's what drives players crazy when you just aren't on the same page. So right here, in terms of pressuring Deshaun Watson from a previous matchup, this is a simple 3-by-1 pressure. And if you see at the quarterback position, you got to recognize that DB's coming in. Deshaun looks startled. What I'm saying is he looks like, whoa, where'd that come from? Same thing here, 3-by-1 from the offense. Slot corner comes, inside linebacker comes, and you see Deshaun right here. Whoa, where'd you come from? He should be making adjustments. He should be getting rid of the football. And then offensive line, a simple little movement by the defensive lineman of the Indianapolis Colts, and he doesn't get blocked. You're not communicating along the offensive line either. So you're showing that You can't pick these simple movements and these simple pressures up. That's how they got to Deshaun Watson this year. If they don't fix mental errors first, I mean their season's going to be one and done.
Well, Coach, fair to say, whoa, where'd you come from? It's not what you're looking for in these situations.
There's a lot of preparation.
Because there was a couple of, where'd you come from, Sarah?
It's hard enough in this league. You're going to get physically beat sometimes. That's what Teddy was referring to, and he's right. Is you just can't mentally beat yourself, and especially in a playoff. I mean, really, they were talking about the specialness of this season. Well, it's right. There's 3 seasons in the NFL: preseason, regular season, and then there's playoff season. And it picks up. So you cannot have mental lapses. You cannot be hesitant in anything you're doing. And that's really the difference to me in this game is, really the number of sacks and some of it mental, some of it physical, but they're 32nd in the league on, sacks per play in the National Football League. 62 sacks they've given up.
62. And let's be clear, this is a different football team with Watson not out there. We've seen that. I mean, they need him. It's an understatement.
You know what happens
to be
also
out there.
in terms of getting to the quarterback and Watson getting sacked? He believes that sometimes you just won't bring him down.
Right.
That he has the ability to play somewhat of a hero ball type of aspect of it, and I'm going to escape this blitz. It doesn't matter that I didn't see you because I still have the ability. You got to get over that and become more of a quarterback, not trusting your ability, but trusting your mentality.
Yeah, I mean, you like the confidence, but all that in a bag of chips will get you hurt. And that's not really what you're looking for either. All right, coming up on NFL Live, Ravens safety Eric Weddle sits down. This man loves himself some ice cream. He'll tell you why and what to expect in the postseason.